High speed, high commitment, and unforgiving of mistakes. Qualities like these make this track a daunting challenge as we get ready for the Porsche Sprint Challenge GT3 Cup qualifying. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Joey, welcome back to VIR.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to be and a fantastic weekend of weather that we've got for racing out here on the, call it Virginia, North Carolina border. We've got our first group in the GT3 Cup qualifying on the racetrack right now and actually about to set their first lap times.
Exactly, and so far it's been hard to beat Carl Stout on those pole times. He actually didn't get pole last time at COTA, but he's been up at the top for most of the season. Meanwhile, Mark Bowden and Elaine Scalzo have been trying to take that Masters fight all the way to the end. Have been trading back and forth both in terms of the fastest times as well as their results on track. But it looks like our first time through, Blake McGovern actually quicker than Carl Stout. And how about Jens Hansen turning things around this weekend? He has been quick in practice and he's backing it up in qualifying.
A 1:49.5 out of Hansen so far, about a quarter of a second faster than Blake McGovern, who we're watching go up into the uphill S's here at VIR for the first time. I should say the second time at speed here in the qualifying session. I do feel like Stout has a little bit of a different warm-up procedure than some of these cars getting after it immediately. His first lap was a 1:54.2, so about 5 seconds off of our fastest so far.
So as we watch Blake come out onto Madison Avenue so far, looks like first sector, not really an improvement for him. Let's see what the second sector is. They'll hit that mark here just about halfway up the back straightaway. And Carl Stout, in the meantime, is looking very fast off screen. Another non-improved sector for Blake McGovern. I think we are about to see Carl Stout suddenly blast up to the top.
I have a feeling you are right with that. He should be coming out onto the front straightaway, I think, here momentarily, as Blake goes through roller coaster and into hog pen out onto the bending front straightaway. And sure enough, Joe, there you are right by 1.2 seconds. Wow. The 243 car
destroyed everybody else on that last time by. Let's not forget, one thing that we do have to remind our new audience members of is this is only half of the fields. They split them into two, so we'll have another qualifying session with the rest of them to try and sort into this same group. We did have a bit of a spin, the 268, Dan Emmon, back at turn 17. Thankfully, he was able to get it going without causing an interruption. They don't have a lot of time in this qualifying, so you really have to make the best of it.
That was Keith McGovern, I believe we were briefly riding on board with. I just want to report that Jens Hansen actually did improve his lap time on the second lap. So instead of 1.2 seconds the gap, now it's under 1 second. A 1:49.226 was Hansen's last lap time.
Mark Bowden, right now our quickest in the Masters. He sits 6th overall. Joel Johnson, though, getting ready to improve and only needs to make up about 0.2 of a second. Will we see him jump him? He just crossed the line now. And indeed he does. Joel Johnson, now your fastest in the Masters category.
And we saw Mark Bowden click down to what was 7th overall as Joel Johnson put together that lap time. But you see, green means his personal fastest in sector number 1. We're going to be coming up to the end of sector number 2 here at the end of Madison Avenue, at the end of this long back straightaway that goes up and downhill a couple times before you finally get to this brake zone down here all the way at the end at turn number 14. Only about 0.2 of a second off of his personal fastest in sector number 2. We'll see if sector number 3 can turn things around.
I think that's going to be an important one. He's got to try and respond, and he's got about half a second to make up on Johnson this time around, so he does need a pretty good final sector. Let's see what it looks like as the 246 blast past us here at the front stretch, and it looks like he is going to stay put as he does not improve.
A 1:50.766. I think that we still have 11 and a half minutes left in qualifying. I was very surprised at seeing the warm-up procedure that Carl Stout did out there, kind of having a slow outlap and then really getting after it. I wonder if that same sort of kind of method can be applied in the middle of the race when they've actually put down their banker. Can you cool them down maybe for a couple laps and then get after it again?
That's a good question, especially considering I was watching Carl bring the car out onto pit lane, and he was extremely aggressive on his acceleration and braking to try to warm up the tires. So clearly there's a sweet spot that he knows exactly where he needs to, or what he needs to do to place it. Right now we've got Chris Hutter on the screen. Last time by, his third sector was pretty good. Let's see what he looks like here on the first sector as he exits out of the snake. And it looks like he's just off of his best.
This run up through the S's, though, is always so crucial. Dab of the brake lights there up at the top of the hill. Sometimes drivers will just opt for a really big lift with a downshift to get the nose on the front end. Some drivers are going to be a little bit more confident slowing the car down and really making sure the front end has that grip to get around what was turn number 10, one of the fastest corners. And then this is turn 12 out onto the back straightaway, also known as Oak Tree, and then Madison Avenue here as Chris Hutter blasts down the straightaway, trying to see how fast he's going to get going. These cars should be reaching about 160 miles an hour here at the end of the back straightaway.
Chris Hutter crosses the timing line and looks like he's a bit off on his best across that second sector. So unless he has a really phenomenal third sector, we're probably going to see him stay as is. Not seeing anybody else really improving. Frank Vitiello, though, did go quicker last time by, and it looks like Steve Schmitz as well in the 2:23. Carl Stout already into pit lane.
So I was trying to keep track of it. He did a 48.3, and then he backed it up with a 48.5 just kind of as an additional banker out there. I mean, that's still nearly a second faster than anybody else out there on the racetrack. I don't blame him for pulling it into pit lane. Unless somebody actually shows as a threat, might as well save the tires.
For sure. Dave Musial Jr. agrees. He's also parked his car, and it looks like Keith McGovern is coming in early as well. Still, the majority of the field is out and running with just about 9 minutes left on the clock. We're watching the 2:17 of Gardner fly down the back stretch. Ooh, and he has 2 personal bests. This is looking very good.
Let's see what this 2:17 of John Gardner can do. This is down through roller coaster, and then we approached 16, 17, and 17A. We don't get a huge feel for the elevation right there, but you really got to drive the front end into the compression, and then it grips you through the rest of turn 17 to provide you this long arcing straightaway here on the front.
Looks like he does not improve. Was not in a personal best on that second sector. Apologies, only on the first one. So Gardner, no, excuse me, he does go quicker. 52.8 it looks like, and he's within half a tenth of Sean McCaig. That's going to be for 6. McCaig has just parked it, so he's got a good opportunity here late in the qualifying to jump up not just 1, but maybe even 2 spots, because Grady Willingham is the next one up. So can he crack into the top 5? Mark Bowden finally starting to respond. He cuts up just behind Joel Johnson on the overall. Unfortunately for him, it's still about 4/10 off of our pole sitter in the Masters.
I think crucially, though, it puts them on the same row in terms of the start. Well, now we are in Group A versus Group B, so we don't know how it'll end up quite yet. But Mark continuing out there. I was noticing he was the only car that was actually putting together green sector times out there. I do see another green sector. It is from Javier Ripple Jr., but it's because he is going to be out there starting to turn his first laps right about now.
Yeah, he had a leftover penalty that he had to serve. Thankfully, now that that's out of the way, he can finally put some laps down, and he's going to need them, because otherwise, if he starts from the back of this group at least, there is a ton of Masters cars between himself and Chris Hutter, who is the next one up. Looks like the 234 just went past us. That is Sean McCaig, so that means he's actually coming back out onto the track.
We'll see if he can improve on his lap time. It's 152.7. Just looking, the car in front of Sean is about 1.2 seconds up from what I see, so it'll have to be a pretty big jump to get in front of Grady Willingham. See Mark Bowden's sector number 1 time is a little bit off the pace here. I wonder if he's taking a little bit of a cool down lap, and you can see kind of reflective on sector number 2 as well. I'm seeing a lot of our cars. I mean, we've still got 6 minutes left, and I was checking it out at about 7.5 minutes left. A lot of cars already in pit lane.
A bit surprising, but you know, honestly, we might be able to see a little bit more action at the very end, since cars could be trying to cool things down. You can watch our track map to see who is where currently.
I like that little track map feature. That's the first time I've seen it here on our graphics package. It just kind of gives you a good idea of, first of all, the track map at VIR, start-finish line way up at the top there, and we are watching Schmitz here in the 223 on that far right side of the track map. You see the S's don't look like very much S's up there. That's because the cars are trying to make it as straight as possible.
Exactly. Yeah, that map that we have is actually tracking the cars themselves rather than an overhead map that you can see of the physical track. But regardless, it should give you an idea of kind of where everybody is placed. And yeah, this is a very quiet moment on the circuit.
Yeah, I think typically a lot of these drivers will go out there, put a banker lap in, but then continue on with the qualifying session, whether that's to get into the rhythm or provide data, provide feedback to the team, whatever it is. Typically, most of them stay out. Now, I say that, and I look, and we've got, what, 3 cars on the out lap right now? I guess we had talked about Sean McCaig not too long ago, so 2 additional cars, Blake McGovern and Chris Hutter.
This is Steve Schmitz, who we haven't seen since Barber, so it's been a few months since he's been back out on the track, but we switched back over to Blake McGovern now. As he continues on in third, he's back on his out lap and needs to make up about half a second to get to the front row. Jens Hansen taking the fight to Carl Stout. This is excellent to see. Jens Hansen, who was jumped up to the Cup cars for the first time this year. He raced in the Caymans last time out. Seemed to maybe struggle a little bit earlier on in the season to find the same pace that we saw out of him back in 2025. But now suddenly he has come alive here in Virginia.
Great to see that lap time out of Jens as we ride on board here with Blake McGovern. You see that he is in 3rd place overall, and he is in that Pro-Am class. So if you look at the left side ticker, the green numbers, that is our Pro-Am class. The gold, yellow numbers, that is our Masters class. And Blake right now is on an out lap, right? So he's going to be warming everything up, trying to get everything up to temperature. And I see about half a second, maybe just over half a second, that he has to improve his fastest lap time in order to put himself on the front row.
I tell you what, Ripple looking like he might jump up because he improved last time and is now setting green sectors in the 1st and 2nd. So he's just coming onto the main straight now. I'm keeping an eye on it. He's just behind Blake, who we saw go by us as we watch his on board. And as Ripple crosses the line, he jumps up to 9th overall. So he's definitely finding time quickly, even though we got a late start.
Since we're riding on board, Blake, here we've got a good example of what a fast lap time is going to be. He was right smack in the middle of the road through the exit of turn number 2. Nice and on the apex there of what is turn number 3. You see him using up all of that exit curb. Make sure to use every width of this VIR racetrack. And then that's an area that it can definitely get out from underneath you. You see him fighting with the wheel, and it's because not only is it a slower speed corner, but Blake is trying to feed on as much throttle as possible. And when you got over 500 horsepower, you got to be careful with that right foot in certain sections.
You always tell me, Joey, that loose is fast. And I think Blake's kind of taken that one to heart with how the car is handling here. Very quick south bend corner. Thankfully, very little correction on the outside. So he was confident through there. Now he needs to get the throttle down coming out of Oak Tree.
It certainly seems like where he is fighting the cars in the slow speed sections, you pointed out, pretty stable up through the high speed S's. If anything, and there was a little bit of understeer through turn number 10. So I think very, very good platform, probably in the medium to high speed sections. Now, this is based off of half a lap of watching, of course. And then maybe down here, once you get on the brakes and really have to whoa this thing up, that the car may be just a little bit more nervous in the slow speed areas, but that's okay as a driver. I would much rather have to fight the car at 40, 50 miles an hour than 150 miles an hour.
That makes sense to me. Unfortunately, it's looking like he's not going to improve on this lap unless he does something special here in the last sector. He will have time to run one more. They are allowed to complete their hot laps even if the clock hits 0. It's just they'll get the checkered flag next time by once that clock does trickle down. We only have Blake out on track along with Keith McGovern, his dad, and then it looks like Sean McCaig and Steve Schmitz. Everybody else has hit pit lane.
You were right, and Blake did not improve on that lap time, a few tenths off, and I think maybe what the frustrating part would be is that you look down at the current lap time and you got to drop about a second in order to grab that P2 out there. So given that he turned 149.7 earlier in the session to back it up with a 150, I think that Blake is looking for more out there.
He's trying to use up every last bit of the session, but I just don't think it's going to be working out. You could see on our screen that Sector 1 still is not even close.
This is through that high-speed section, got to woe it up. This is really where he was kind of fighting the car through that 11-12 complex. Now from these angles, car looks very, very solid and stable through there. Not a whole lot of correction, so maybe it is a situation that we saw out of Carl Stout early on in qualifying, that the second lap maybe kind of coming to you a little bit more.
Up and over the crest towards the braking of roller coaster. You could see it disappear through that kink and then come into view. Now down the hill, big drop here. Second sector finding a little bit of time. This is not completely off, but he was about half a second off of his best in the first sector.
Remember, he has got to pick up about half a second off of his fastest lap time to get himself up on the front row. He's looking for a 149.2 or faster, and it does not happen, unfortunately.
Last lap wound up at a 50.2 in the end. Let's see, do we have, yes, we've got McCaig and Schmitz still on a lap. We'll give it a second here. Granted, I can tell you that McCaig is not looking like he is going to improve. And Schmitz, yeah, he just went through the second sector, so I think both of them and McCaig has come into pit lane.
Well, that is Group A for GT3 Cup qualifying out here. Of course, remember, we still have Group B. Carl Stout, current fastest lap time in the Pro-Ams, a 148.3. Joel Johnson, current fastest lap time in the Masters, a 150.1.
All right. And as I mentioned, Carl Stout has been kind of the measuring stick for a lot of the season. That said, he is joined once again by Danny Dashelski this weekend, and Danny was the one that beat him to pole last time. Here is your results for the GT3 Cup Pro-Ams, and it's Carl Stout on top with Jens Hansen on to his side for now. Blake McGovern, third quickest, with David Musial Jr. in fourth, Chris Hutter in fifth, and Javier Ripple Jr. in sixth. That is our Pro-Ams. Joey, what about our Masters?
Yeah, Joel Johnson with that 150.1, currently fastest of the Masters class. Mark Bowden not too far back at a P2 with a 150.5. Keith McGovern slotting into third. Frank Vitiello in fourth. Grady Willingham just behind in fifth. Sean McCaig in sixth. John Gardner in seventh. Stephen Schmitz in eighth. And Dan Ammon, unfortunately, was not able to put in a lap time. He is slotted into ninth in the Masters.
Don't go away. We've got more to come. Group B will be on air here in just a moment in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America GT3 Cup qualifying.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
When we began racing, we started with a question. Can a dream become a legacy? Across endless nights, relentless rain, competition that never slows. Through every failure, every win, every single race, we've asked ourselves, can a dream become a legacy? And 75 years later, the answer is clear. Because we weren't built for racing, we were born for it.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
When we began racing, we started with a question. Can a dream become a legacy? Across endless nights, relentless rain, competition that never slows. Through every failure, every win, every single race, we've asked ourselves, can a dream become a legacy? And 75 years later, the answer is clear. Because we weren't built for racing, we were born for it.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. We are getting ready for Group B in the GT3 Cup qualifying. So far, the times that every driver is aiming for is our Pro-Am pole at a 48.5, and then our Masters pole sits at a 150.5. So they've got a marker to try and catch Joey, but as we watch them, 48.3 for Carl Stout on the Pro-Am and a 50.1 for the Masters. But Joey, everybody knows what they need to aim for, and does that make it harder or easier to have that in front of you?
I guess, yeah, right? It's a little bit of a lure, right? A little bit of kind of a target to go and chase. What I think I'm most curious about, though, was any of these drivers and teams paying attention to how the 243 and Carl Stout warmed up his car, because his first flying lap was, about 5 or 6 seconds off of the pace, and then it was actually lap number 2 and lap number 3 that were dead consistent with each other. What'd you say, a 48.3 and a 48.5, so less than 0.2 of a second difference. If we're going to see that same type of kind of tire warm-up and prep in this group, and if anybody can take advantage of it.
On board with Dan Drowan, who does look like he's trying to do some prep. You could see he's braking and accelerating here on the back stretch, just trying to get some heat into the tires as maybe tries to find himself a little bit of space as well. One of the things that the drivers also have to do is watch out for no passing on the outlap around here. And there are quite a few that are just going past us on the front stretch right now that have definitely not spaced out. In fact, they're relatively close together.
I agree with you. I think it was led by Siegel in the 267. I think I saw Riley Jacques-Mazzi. Here's this group that you were just talking about. So typically in qualifying, you want a little bit more space in between yourself and the competitor in front of you. Think of it this way. If that competitor in front of you makes a mistake or isn't as fast as you, it is going to cost your lap time. Just in the case right here, Elaine Scalzo not doing anything wrong. He's out of the way. However, it will affect the lap time of the car going by.
It's understandable. That's Stashelski, who's trying to find some track space, and already he's being caught up by Jacques-Mazzi down through the snake. Eventually, he's... Well, I thought he was going to try and sneak through, but he's backed out of it.
Yeah, I think that was the smart thing. You know, that lap being compromised from the 222 car in turn number 3 and 4, it's not going to be ideal. So why force a too-wide issue going into the S's? Now, I'm sure Dashelski is on the radio saying, why aren't these guys going at all? I think Siegel and Riley have a little bit more of the same plan of kind of hanging out, while Dashelski says, I want to go, and I want to go right now.
Clearly, this first lap is not going to be the quickest for a number of cars, and already some weaving again to try and work those tires into the right spot as Dyszelski takes off now that he's got clear air. Remember, he wants to try and beat Carl Stout this time. Oh, but we got a red flag. The 277 is showing is stopped at the exit of the climbing S's.
Yeah, and that is an incredibly high-speed section of the racetrack. Going to see the rest of the field come down. Now, you do have the red flag displayed. I expect everybody has already seen it and should be heading into pit road following this orange 252 car of Dyszelski. So we'll just have to patiently wait to see where exactly this 277 is.
That's Evan Hinkle. And yeah, if our track map is correct, then he's gone off at a very unfortunate spot where you tend to not have small accidents. And in fact, the car has perched itself, interestingly, up on the tires. That is a good trick.
I think they call that a 50-50 grind. Or is that a tail slide? No, So no, but for real, this is a situation that you see Dr. D is out there. He is getting to the driver, and I think most importantly, Evan has already opened the driver door, and he is trying to climb out of the vehicle. So that's the most important news.
Yes. Yeah, and we would not be making little quips like that if it weren't for the fact that the door was open there, thankfully, to alert us that the driver is at least moving and good on that front. But this might take a while to clean up.
That's what I was thinking, and that's a pretty big tire bundle out there.
So the way this will work, essentially, if they are not able to restart the session, since there were no time set, they may have to go based on the second practice times, which I'll have to look up and try and see where everybody sits. And it looks like Carl Stout was the fastest on that one with Dyszelski's. Now we're seeing some more pictures.
The driver is already out of the car.
Yes.
You see Evan walking around with his helmet off, so that is the most important thing to report. And then, unfortunately, the mechanical bits, we can see what has happened.
Yeah, and very quickly, VIR has done a great job of sending a number of vehicles out there, because obviously this cleanup is going to take a bit between getting the car out of there, and then on top of it, like you said, they need to replace the tire bundle most likely.
But they got to get the car off of it first.
Yeah, which is why we've got the tow truck actually trying to get the hook on the thing just to get it into the air. But
I do have to giggle now because I see our safety worker, our corner worker out there with the phone saying, look at this Porsche. It almost just entered my tent over here. It's not the first time through the climbing S's that we have had a corner station come incredibly close to call it an incident like this. But this far up, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the S's is a really, really fast area, and I wonder if it was a hook spin at the top of it or if it was further, a little bit further back and it just kind of got away from him.
It could be. We don't even know if there was any other cars involved either. We haven't seen any messages other than there's the 277 off course. As far as those times I was talking about, Carl Stout, the quickest of the Pro-Ams, but the Masters actually goes to Todd Treffert in that practice too. Now again, this is assuming that we're expecting they're not going to be able to restart this session. And in the past, they have done situations where if there was different conditions or different situations between the two groups, they would grid them according to row. So the fastest in Group 1 will be the inside of the front row, and the fastest of Group 2 will be the outside. But this case, they haven't even set a lap time.
Well, here's the other difficult factor with it is that this is kind of a red flag brought out by a competitor versus maybe like a weather situation that we've dealt with before. So, I mean, Group A, they behaved and they got their lap times done. Now, Group B, we're obviously watching the incident kind of unfold, and I just wonder how they will handle that, given that they had the opportunity of the time, but it didn't go to plan.
Exactly. Oh. Everybody be safe out there. This looks like a very tricky extraction. So we're definitely wishing the best for the safety crew as well, having to do a very difficult job on this one. Yeah, we'll see what race controls decides. Based on my experiences, though, I'm guessing that this is going to have to revert back to the practice times, which is also not unheard of. We have used that in this series before as well. So there is some precedent on that front. This is definitely getting to be crunch time in the championship as well. Not so much for Carl Stout. He's been almost untouchable. In fact, he was beat to one of the races for the first time last time out. And that was at race 1 at COTA that happened. Was beat by Matthew Siegel, but then he returned to the top step in race number 2. So that one obviously is close. But for Bowden and Scalzo, this is the big one that we've been watching out, the Masters Championship. They came into this weekend separated by only 5 points. 15 points rather, between them, which is not a lot considering it's 60 points for a win. Ooh, this is very clever of the safety crews. Getting that car lifted up and just back the flatbed right up to it. And we can already see down at the bottom of the screen that the tire bundles are ready to go. So I want to give a huge bit of credit to the safety crew here at VIR for being that quick on the draw.
I did poke my head next door just to see what race control was thinking about the gridding and whatnot, and they are consulting the regulations and going by what is mentioned by the book, essentially. Now, there are a few different situations, but it looks like it will be some sort of rows between Group A and Group B.
Interesting, okay. Because I don't think we got lap times for Group B in, full lap times. We had out laps. So that's a curious one on that front. I was talking as you were out checking with them, Joey, about how Bowden and Scalzo have got a really close fight. And honestly, between them, I believe, if I'm seeing correctly, yeah, Bowden has only been off of the podium once so far this season, and Scalzo's only been off the podium twice. Both of them have been fantastically consistent out there, and that's why they've wound up so close so far in the title fight. Looks like they got that car properly on the flatbed now.
And you were talking about Mark Bowden, and he is definitely one of the more experienced racers out here, and tons of not only track time, but race time, right? And that definitely comes into factor when we're talking about these gridding of the rows and maybe not everything lined up as perfect. So, yeah, you look at the results, and they are certainly there for Bowden, but it's because of a reason. It's because he has been on top of it every single session.
And last race, Scalzo would have been even closer. And we're hearing race control is potentially making the call. Yeah, we're hearing that it's not being restarted. So sad news for fans that really wanted to see the second group try to go at it, but we'll have a grid regardless ready for race number 1. And to finish the point that I was making, Scalzo with a penalty wound up with second place in race 1. Otherwise, it would have been a double win for him on that race. To that point, though, Bowden did finish second in race 2, so they kind of swapped it back and forth in that race. There we can see the message from race control at the bottom that they are not going to be restarting, Joey. So we're going to just have to wrap this one up early.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate, but that does take care of our Porsche Sprint Challenge North America qualifying sessions for the morning, and of course going to be right back after lunch with a lot more racing action, starting with that Cayman race a little bit earlier than the GT3 Cup race. The Cayman race starts at approximately 1:50 p.m. this afternoon, so make sure to stick around for all of the great racing action.